What's up, YouTube? How is everyone doing? Today is March 25th. You know what that means? I don't know. I don't know what it means. Let me start and stop this video in the background so I have a live view of the chat. All right, and we'll see what's going on here. How is everybody today, this afternoon, this beautiful Sunday? We had lots of rain over the last 24 hours here in Knox Vegas, Tennessee. For those of you that don't know, I'm in East Tennessee, in the valley before the Smoky Mountains. Love this area of the country. It's unique. I am a cool season turfgrass manager. My background is in warm season turfgrass. I do not like fescue, but that's what I manage day in and day out. I have a love-hate relationship with it. If you're joining the live stream, feel free to comment in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat, and that's what I'm here for. I take this 1 hour opportunity to answer any and all questions that come my way that pertain to the lawn. That sounded professional, didn't it? I see some names here. We got GoBots on the trail. What's going on, my man? How are you, sir? Alfred, good to see your name again. Cold and windy up your way. Where are you, GoBots? Where are you? Phil Sullivan, happy Sunday to you, sir. Mr. Parrish, how are you? What's up with you? My mom is tuned in. Hey there, Ma. We just ended a Skype conversation. Yo, you come down here to East Tennessee, do you, GoBots? It's a unique area. I've lived quite a few places around the South, traveled quite a bit around the South, and Knoxville, East Tennessee has a different feel about it. It's just it's a different deal. It's a different setup. You know, the landscape looks different. You know, there's a lot of mature trees here, and the topography of everything gives it a unique feel here. Brian Reese, what's up with you, good sir? Oh, you're up there, Lake Erie. Woo, that's tough. That is tough. Getting itchy to start lawn in Michigan. I would say so, man. You know, this has been one of those really weird years. You know, 80 degrees in February. Everything came out. It was popping. You know, we had blooms on the forsythias. I mean, they were really going out. Some of the different varieties of cherries started busting out. Did awesome. And then everything just, wow. It got super cold all of a sudden. And battling with snow, none of it stuck, of course, but it's interesting now. I'm seeing forsythias still blooming, so I don't know. This is a weird year, and here we are. We're March 25th, and you know, it's still pretty cool here. So it's gonna be in for another weird year, man. Another weird year. Blue Ridge Parkway, yeah, man. Lots of good hiking there. What was the product you used in an old video to get rid of violets? My yard is good to go, except for those violets. Grasshopper, I was using 4-Speed XT. That is one of my favorite products to use on wild violets. It's a combination of 2,4-D triclopyr. The kicker in that, I think it also has some dicamba. The kicker in that product is the pyriflufen ethyl. That is also known as octane in the turf and ornamental market, which is an awesome, awesome kicker. You know, much like you would use sulfentrazone or dismiss as a kicker, or you use carfentrazone, which is quicksilver, as a kicker. You know, like if you're familiar with the product, T-Zone is triclopyr and sulfentrazone, or you think of Speed Zone, which is 3-way and carfentrazone. Basically, they're taking a 3-way, adding triclopyr and adding octane, the pyriflufen ethyl. Pyriflufen ethyl is actually a non-selective herbicide. I believe it attempts to kill anything you spray, but it doesn't have the power to kill most grasses. So typically what you see happen is increased activity on your broadleaf weeds. Bam! So 4-speed XT. There we go. What's up, Shane Brady? How are you, sir? Good to see your name. Hope you had a happy St. Patrick's Day. Got some good, man, you got some lawns done. That's what I'm talking about. I know you were itching to get it done. Good for you, buddy. Hot in Florida, maybe over 85. That is hot. That's good stuff. Worked on new parts of the Foothills Parkway. My lawn is green already after doing all of my fall lawn reno. That's good, man. That's a good sign. If you've got it greened up already, you're ahead of the curve. Andrew, what's up? Nash, Vegas, back again. How are you, Andrew? Good to see you, man. Glad you're here. I'd like to hear more tips for Southern California grass. No one talks about it. Marco, there's a reason no one talks about it, and that's because it's a giant mystery. At least in my case, this is what is so bizarre to me. Before I visited California, I had this idea in my head of what it was like, and I could not have been any further away from the truth of really about how it was. So we were there in June, and I was fully expecting it to be hot, beach weather. I was thinking, it's going to be like Florida, right? And now, again, I was in LA too, so I don't know if you would consider that Southern California. But, I mean, it was June, and we went to the beach at night, and it was freezing cold. It was so cold. And I was really shocked about that. So, interestingly, what I saw a lot of in LA was Bermuda grass and seashore paspalum. Those were the two things I noticed. I'm sure there's other things out there. I think I've even heard some people talking about fescue out there. I don't know. And so I would go out on a limb and say that's why nobody really talks about it, is because most of us on here are East Coast guys, not West Coast guys. Marco, what turf type are you dealing with in Southern California? And then maybe I can give you some tips that pertain to that. I have good luck with Iron X for my weeds, aka organic product. Iron X is going to be similar to Fiesta, which is an organic weed control. What do you think about Lesco Poly Plus? Caught your fertilizer show, and it was way over my head. Poly Plus is a polymer coating that is reacted onto the outer surface of a urea prill. Much like I was talking about in that video, the way it works is that the integrity of that prill, of that coating on the urea, is compromised by heat. Until it is fully compromised, what happens is that it slows the water from being able to penetrate into that shell, which slows the release of the urea coming back out on the back end of that. So with heat, typically what happens is that you begin to get photodegradation of that prill, and the less rigid that coating becomes, and so water moves in and out much faster. And then you get a faster release with more heat. So do I like Poly Plus? Not particularly. Honestly, this is just between me and you, Ronald. I'm not a big fan of anything Lesco. Not a fan of anything Lesco. Rich, what's up, my man? Out there in Pittsburgh. Hi-ya. Congratulations to you and the Eagles, man. Thank you much. All I could think of was it had something to do with transmissions. That's right. Hey, man. Hello from Fresno, California. Michael Tuma, how are you, sir, over there in Fresno, California? It's part of the country I've never been. Got some crabgrass breaking through in San Antonio, Texas. I would say so, Heather. I was seeing some over there next door to my house along gravel where it meets yard. There's definitely some crabgrass there. So it's making its way here too. If you have not got your pre-emergents down, scramble. Connor Ward is out there correcting me. LA is Southern California. How are you, Connor Ward? Real quick for everybody in the room, take a second, subscribe to Connor Ward. What he's doing with bluegrass is super top notch. I really enjoy watching him. And Connor Ward rocks a really sweet mustache. And I don't think it's because he's a hipster. I just think it's because he can. I'm sorry for the cheap jab, Connor. I had to do something. Had to do something. Hey, Popo and Son. Hey, you're welcome, man. I enjoy it. I really enjoy this. This is a lot of fun for me. Welcome aboard, Mr. Nate, 1986, the year of my birth. Mr. Tiger, we're Tigers. I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you got to sign on and check things out. Conware, do you have an active YouTube channel? Because people need to subscribe to YouTube. So, interestingly, so for those that are watching right now that are Bermuda grass guys, John Ware is the man when it comes to Bermuda grass. So he is a homeowner and has really stepped up his Bermuda grass game to the next level. It is awesome. Again, he features his project on thelawnforum.com, which is a great website. I really enjoy reading everything the homeowners have going on over there. It's a great knowledge base for homeowners that are looking to take their stuff up to the next level. You know, that's a good place to start, thelawnforum.com. And John Ware has done everything from irrigation systems. He's reel mowing. He's done an super intense leveling project that I do not have the patience for. And but it's really good stuff. Between John Ware and Connor Ward, those guys will have you covered when it comes to residential lawns. Pretty amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Go bots, man. Shoot me an email, thegrassfactor@gmail.com. Can we just admit that weeds are the superior plants and just give up on grass already? Ty? Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's kind of an interesting thing when it comes to what we do as turf managers day in and day out. You know, we're fighting a losing battle 99% of the time. Monoculture stands of turf grass are not natural. So we are fighting against nature. However, what we're doing with our monocultured stand of turf grass that has become so modified and is so high performing. And when I say high performing, meaning it's going to be pretty resource intensive. And as you know, the way turfgrass plants are going to generate their own literal food, their own carbohydrates, is through a process called photosynthesis. So monoculture stands of turfgrass are actually the largest consumers of atmospheric CO2 of anything on the planet. And what's special about that is that monoculture stands of turfgrass are actually doing the world a favor by cleaning up greenhouse gases. So there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's what I got. What is up, Jake the Lawn Kid? How are you, sir? How are you, sir? Ronald Parrott, Super Low Ryan, KBG looks good. Connor, is it okay to use Dimension 2 times per year so you can overseed in the fall? You can, Ronald. Just split your apps up. Pick your target rate that you want to get down and split that rate in half. And so you can put it out in 2 applications. And that way you'll get your coverage. About fescue grass, Kentucky bluegrass, thank you to answer my questions. You're the one who takes care of his followers. Well, I appreciate that, Marco. I try. So, you know, when you're dealing, you're at an advantage, I would say, West Coast. Man, I don't really know a whole lot about your soil conditions. What is your soil like in California? Because I just don't know. If you're dealing with fescue there, I would say you're going to be slightly sandy, probably a little rocky. So really one of your big things there is going to be controlling your water inputs. So precise irrigation is going to be a big part of what you do. How much humidity you deal with day in and day out is probably going to be a little bit of a chore too. Higher humidities when you're dealing with cool season grasses means you're going to have to step your fungicide game up or be very, very, very cognizant of how you're actually feeding the lawn. So what I mean by that is it may be more beneficial if you're taking care of your own home yard to do spoon feedings. So micro dosing of nutrients over smaller increments of time. So, you know, every 2 weeks you feed your lawn small amounts of food, you know, based on whatever it is your soil test is showing you. And because you're going to be in a sand-based situation, understand that things are going to move through the soil extremely quickly. So that's another reason that you would have a big benefit to doing foliar applications for 1, and 2, spoon feeding when you do feed. So this is going to be about my best answer for now. Also, dealing with sandy soil situations, you've got to do something to help tie up those nutrients. Carbon is going to be very important for things like that. So if you can incorporate more carbon into everything you do. Look at my wife. Happy 4,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, everyone. That is true. I did hit 4,000 subscribers, and I don't know what to think about it. I still can't believe I'm doing the YouTube thing. It's super bizarre to me. And the fact that people enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing everything that I do with everyone. And I enjoy the feedback I get. It constantly keeps me in a state of learning, and that's where I like to be. I enjoy, you know, studying. I'm weird about this. I will gladly give up on sleep to be able to stay up and read a new report that's come out or something. So anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Asami. I really just thank everyone for subscribing and all the support I get. It's absolutely amazing. Steve Willie, I did get my Permagreen up and running. I will text you a video, as a matter of fact, because it's that baby is a singing. And all of a sudden, I haven't heard anything on my phone in the last couple of hours. And then as soon as I start this, my phone starts going bonkers. So pretty interesting. Again, for those of you watching, if you have questions, feel free to submit them in the chat box. I will answer them as you please. Have you ever used Anderson's brand? I love their Humic DG. I live near their home base. I'm a golf course superintendent for the last 9 years. Buy a lot of their stuff. Can't wait to biostimulant package. GoBots, I do not use a lot of Anderson stuff. They do make good stuff. The Humic DG obviously is, you know, one of their trademark products, and what they do is they take the urea and then they roll it in humate, and it adheres to the prill. They use a special bonding agent to make that happen, and basically that is the natural way to do a stabilized nitrogen source. So, you know, you think stabilized nitrogen, typically you're going to be in the urease inhibitors, your Umax, your Uflex, whereas with the Humic DG, you're actually using linodite shale or humate as your nitrogen stabilizer. So it's great stuff. My only issue with it is the price. It's so expensive that it's not feasible for me to be able to use it in the residential lawn care world. Bought my seed in Seed Superstore, all Kentucky bluegrass, mainly blueberry, Kentucky. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you watching. You know, that's one thing I wish I could deal with more here is Kentucky bluegrass. Unfortunately, it just doesn't do real well. There are some varieties, the HGT, Healthy Growth Technology bluegrass, is gaining a reputation that's produced by Barenberg, gaining a reputation of doing well here. However, it doesn't hold color. It doesn't really have any color. It's just yellow. So, you know, it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think it's ever really going to catch on here at yellow grass. Connor Ward, why are suppliers not doing more humic coated urea? And the reason being is that it's not that it's difficult to do or that it's expensive. It requires a little bit of capital expense on the front end. It's relatively, it is new. What the Anderson's doing is technically it is new because they were the first one to put it out on the market. But the hard part in order to blend urea with humic, you can't truly homogenize it, meaning you can't take those two compounds and mix them together. They just don't bond well together. The only way you can really do that is by melting urea, and then dripping it into your humate. And that's where things could get weird, because you're talking about, you know, pretty high. I think maybe like 300 C is where you need to be on your urea temperatures as you start dropping it onto your Leonardite. So what they've done is, instead of doing that, they introduce it into a drum, a rotating drum. And then as it's rotating in this drum, they drop the urea down and it begins to coat it. And they add a compound to help it adhere. The equipment to cost to saleability is all of that. I think most people are kind of just letting the Andersons test the market, dip their toes in the soil, see what's going on out there, iron out all the kinks before others jump on board. Yeah, and that's really going to be about it. It's a little bit of a tricky process, and I think that's what it is. I would say anyone who's just starting out, you know, is going to run into quite a few issues of being able to dial it in and get it into a super efficient production line. Anderson's has it figured out, so that's how it is. The other thing too is that other people don't want to compete with the Andersons, which I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to compete against the Andersons either. So how about just granular humic? That's doable. Again, that's going to be pretty expensive, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me why it is the price it is. It can be made relatively cheap. I just don't understand how that's going. I don't think the humic coating urea is patented. Their particular process for coating urea may be patented, but not humic coated urea in general, I don't believe. Typically they'll and the reason being that they don't do things like that is because it's so hard to patent, you know, two raw materials going together. They would have to do something more along the lines with their process, the way they process that. So I don't know. Advanced Lawn's got 2 totes of RGS. Thanks for the heads up on it. Notice a great color response. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. It is it's an interesting product to use. You know, the more I use it, I feel like the less I know about it, and that's always really exciting, because I try and use it in more and more situations to monitor, you know, plant development, stress development. Like one of the things I'm doing with Air 8 right now, this is why I put it on my yard, is that I've got some areas where seed only came up in the aeration holes, and I didn't do a great job aerating my yard either. So I'm curious how that Air 8 will help that fescue expand and cover area outside of those aeration holes. So a lot of fun to use those products, man. It's a lot of fun to use. What type of education degree do you have, or what did you do to learn about fertilizers and so forth? I will tell you how I learned about fertilizers and so forth. You can put it this way: what I have learned now did not come from university. This is from being in the field, paying attention to what I'm doing in the field, and reading a lot, always being in a constant state of experimentation. That's how I learned it. I'm very passionate about my industry, and I want to make sure that I know as much as I possibly can. And there's so much to know that I realize that I'll be doing this the rest of my life and still only know a percentage of what there is to know. Billy Stiles has been selling humic and kelp for a while now. I don't know who Billy Stiles is. I may have to Google that. LZ USA says, I live in Ohio. What is your opinion on Stay Green Crabgrass X? I don't know, LZ. That's a homeowner product. Let me look up the active ingredients in it real quick. Stay Green Crabgrass X. It sounds tough. Chances are it probably has a low rate of pendimethalin or prodiamine in it. And I would say as long as it's cheap, you're good to use. It's probably going to have an NPK load on it too. Oh, I'm seeing it here from Lowe's. CrabX. Let's pull up this. Looks like it's a 3003. That's a lot of nitrogen. Get ready to mow, buddy. And maybe we can zoom in here and see an active ingredient. Looks like it is prodiamine. It is really blurry. I can't read that. Chances are it is either prodiamine or pendimethalin, both of which are good pre-emergents. Read the label and apply them according to the label, and you will have good results. The other part of that is it's high in nitrogen. It's probably going to make you grow pretty good. So don't be discouraged, but I think you'll be okay. Go ahead and get it out, man. I don't think you can go wrong there. Pre-emergent's pre-emergent. All you're looking for is the active ingredient. Fertilizer's fertilizer. Again, you're looking for your NPK ratios as you wish them to be. Do you know of any good battery sprayers for homeowners? Think ahead of time. Oh, John Ware, 20-volt Chapin backpack. There you go. In fact, I need to get a couple of battery-powered backpacks, so I will be paying attention to that. That's one of the things we were talking about, how if we had 2 battery-powered backpacks, that would be a great thing to keep on the truck. Would you suggest it would be a good idea to use RGS on my new lawn? Yeah, man, absolutely. So RGS is very simply just, a mix of humic acid and kelp. What makes Greene County Fertilizer products unique is their production process. They have a very intensive production process. I'll call it a quote unquote brew. And, they have high quality raw materials, of course. And there is a synergistic effect between the bridge capacity of the humic acid and the growth hormone and amino acid compounds in the kelp. And what happens is you get an extreme case of root development that takes place from the combination of those two. Vatek is the one who did the big study on that. I've only read bits and pieces of it. It's a combination of thesis and papers, research articles over a course of it's an extremely long time. So anyway, it's a real science-backed thing there. So in terms of using that on a new yard, yeah, it'd be a great thing to use on a new yard, because obviously the goal would be to drive root depth as quickly as possible. The deeper you get those roots, the better your turf grass will begin performing. We got some more coming in here. Sprayers Plus battery backpacks. Pete at GCI Turf sells the Sprayers Plus. There we go. Flow Zone. Okay, there's a lot of them out there. Wow. Wow, there's a lot of them out there. How's your Bermuda? I have a slower green up than my brother. Every time it starts to green in Nashville, we get a day or two of frost every week. Lawn looks more yellowish than green. Tell-AI, I'm much the same way. Oddly, I'm much greener than I anticipated being right now. I don't know why, but I've definitely got a lot of green in the yard. I can see where we got those late frosts that kind of dinged it quite a bit, but for the most part, it's doing good. I'm happy it's up and it's going. I'm ready for it to go bananas for sure. Yeah, I'm ready to mow it. Ready to mow it. Any organic fert you can recommend that I can buy online? I don't know. I don't know what's available to buy online. I honestly have no idea. Organic fert to me is organic fert is organic fert. I'm not usually a big fan of it because I like control over my fertilizer response, and most organic ferts I see available for sale right now are water insoluble nitrogen sources. So when you look at manures or waste products, it's water insoluble nitrogen. It doesn't have a doesn't undergo any hydrolysis to release the nitrogen that's in that particular product. Typically what happens is that it has to be consumed by soil microbes to release the tied up nitrogen. So not a big fan of it because I don't really have any control over the release. What I do prefer to do is stabilize my nutrient sources with something organic or something carbon based. So typically that's what I've been doing, at least for the last 6 months, something like that. Need a big boost of potassium. What would be your recommendation? Okay. If you don't know this about me, I will tell you right now, I am a potassium sulfate guy through and through. I do not like muriate of potash. I like sulfate of potash. I do not like muriate of potash because of how caustic it is and the chlorine content. If you look on a bag of something that contains MOP, it will list chlorine content. If it's like a 20-0-20, you may notice that that bag has like 14-15% chlorine in it. So just not a big fan of it. If you've ever taken a bag of muriate of potash and stuck your hand into it, I mean, it literally burns your skin. It's a really intense fertilizer salt. Potassium sulfate is not high in salt. It's actually a relatively, it has a low salt index. On the other side of that is that it's a sulfated nutrient. So you get your potassium source, then as that sulfate ion breaks down, it's going to release a fair amount of oxygen at your soil surface. And with that oxygen release there, typically what happens is that you have a flood of microbes that tend to gravitate towards that increase in oxygen. And by getting those microbes to move and gravitate there, typically you get a stronger response from your turf grass, not just from a nutrient perspective, but because of soil biology as well. So big fan of potassium sulfate as a K source. You can also try things like potassium thiosulfate, and that would be a liquid potash product like a Nucleus 0021. But anyway, it's K thiosulfate. That's a good product too. But for all intents and purposes, I prefer sulfate of potash over MOP. Sulfate of potash comes in a 0050. It's relatively expensive depending on where you get it, maybe like $30 a bag, something like that. Whereas MOP will be priced similarly, but it's going to be a 0062. So there you go. I have a hard time finding anything where I'm at. Yeah, I'd say so. I would say so. When would you put out Bermuda seed for a renovation yard? I'm about 80 miles south of you. Jason, I would do that probably in mid to late May. Yeah, probably mid to late May. What kind of fertilizer will get that light pole to stand back up? Tom Reed, that's a good question. You need to ask my wife that. Maybe we can type that in the chat and she'll ask. Because one of her friends accidentally backed into it, and that's why it got knocked down. I posted it in the chat. We'll see what she says. She may answer, she may not. Have you used Green County Ferts in charge? No, sir. AC Fuller. I know what it is and I know how it's made. It's a carbon lignin based product that is used to slow the end release. Again, it's much like a nitrogen stabilizer, where you're using carbon to slow the conversion of urea into urease, and slow the reaction of urea into urease, and also have that denitrification, that runoff leaching minimization that takes place. So that's the whole premise behind it, except it's doing it naturally versus using a product like diamide to inhibit that reaction. Does the Green County Fert products dry out the way wetting agents do? Meaning, do the products need smaller, more frequent applications to remain effective? Jason, no, it's going to be much different than that because you're supplementing organic acids into the soil. The leftover residual effect of that is a carbon deposit. So it's not that smaller, more frequent applications are going to be effective. It's more of just if you use it, it will be effective. And it will remain effective for quite some time. So is it something, when you're dealing with carbon in general, it's not something you can apply once, like people talk about how, you apply carbon and it's not going to go anywhere for 10,000 years. Well, yes, and probably no. I mean, it is going to move. It may move deeper. Some of it may be lost atmospherically. It may be disturbed. Maybe the cover crop is killed off, and that's going to increase to more atmospheric losses. So carbon supplementation has to happen year over year, no matter what. And typically what I have read as a standard operating procedure to maintain nitrogen stability in the soil is somewhere around 5 to 10 pounds of actual carbon per 1,000 square feet per year. And that's that. Do you use any liquid fert? No, Paul, I do not. I do not. What's a good product to get rid of weed and bugs? Kevin, what kind of weeds are you talking about? What kind of bugs are you talking about? Because in all honesty, I could have 1,000 different answers for that. How many times a year do you fertilize? Do you treat each yard individually? For the most part, I treat yards somewhat individually. Yeah. I try to get them on something. I'm trying to get something established where I can get a lot of the yards functioning very similarly. So that way I don't have to run so many highly customized products. But, for the most part, I do have to make adjustments on the fly from yard to yard based on the conditions that are there. So do I treat each yard individually? For the most part, yes. How many times a year do you fertilize? I only put down fertilizer 4 times a year. Why aren't you hiring someone to manage your lawn care company and going off and selling, promoting other people's products or $2 benefits products? Man, because I enjoy being out in the field. There's something about loading up my truck and going out and getting work done. It just feels good. I like coming home at the end of the day and being extremely tired. Call me crazy, but I function better that way. I operate more efficiently. I feel healthier when I do that. So I don't really want to promote other people's products too if they don't work. So that's why I don't want to limit myself to only doing that. I would much rather have a career where I get to have a career and I get to use other people's products and prove that they don't work. And then they do work, because it's more exciting when they don't work. I guess, no, it's definitely more exciting when they do work, but it's fun when they don't work too. Just got my pest control operator certificate. I've been in the industry 15 years. I'm an arborist, very good as far as treating palms, trees, and shrubs. Jumping to the lawns, what's your advice? Back to nature. When you're going from the tree world to the lawn world, there are so many variables that go into affecting a yard. you have to think of turfgrass more along the lines of, I hate to say a crop, because I'm trying to get away from that, but more along the lines of a crop. I mean, you kind of have to, you know, it's not like you're establishing one central leader and you may work on that tree 2-3 times a year. You know, this is something that turfgrass is different. As far as making that jump, man, really, it's just jump into it and don't look back. I mean, just get after it. Go out and run some experiments. Know you're going to make mistakes. Just don't be nervous. Typically, the more timid I am around a particular yard or grass type, typically the worse response I get in terms of overall performance. So what I would recommend is just getting out there and doing it and don't look back. Make a mistake, kill a yard, fix it, figure it out, and you'll be good. You'll be good. Purchased a cool season grass book from Lawn Care Nuts. Saw you were a contributor. I hope it will help me with my cool season grass in the transition zone. How about them apples? Yeah, for those people that are looking for an in-depth program or some sort and stuff, I usually don't have time to sit down and write out programs for people. So it's a perfect opportunity to say, Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, is one of my favorites. It's probably one of my favorite YouTube channels to watch at all. Very entertaining, and he's an extremely nice guy. I mean, he's a super guy. He's very bright. He has his cool season grass book. I have been doing some technical editing work for him. So anyway, check that out. Big ups to Alan Hain. I love him. Scopophobia in the house. What is up, my friend? Scopophobia, give me a call sometime. I can't remember what your question was. But check it out. I mean, give me a call. Give me a call. Will Permagreen be able to apply 4 pounds per 1,000? Holes will have to be wide open. Steve Willie, yes, it'll be able to apply 4 pounds per 1,000. Don't be silly. Steve Willie's being silly. Okay, so the Permagreen at wide open will probably get out 8 to 9 pounds per 1,000. Sometimes I struggle on seed. I have to pull the catch grade out. I struggle on seed. Typically the most I'm going to get out on seed would be like 6 or 7 pounds per 1,000. Now with the breakthrough agitator, I can really get it out, and I can get it out super good. So I'd say with seed now with the breakthrough agitator, I'm back up to 8 to even 10 pounds per 1,000. And so with the seed, with the fertilizer, yeah, 4 pounds per 1,000, man, that's going to be easy stuff. I'll probably have it set at like 21, something like that. Asami, she loves her friend. Measured soil temps yesterday, still 48 degrees. Haven't put down anything yet. Scopophobia, you didn't hear this from me, but if you're at 48 degrees, you better get something down fast. Get it down fast. GoBots on the trail. If you look underneath my video and hit more information, hit show more, it will have my email contact, thegrassfactor@gmail.com. At 48 degrees, typically I'm having a panic attack because that means crabgrass can realistically germinate at any day at that point. And so that's why I go ham on when we get in there around that temperature range. Alan does need to join in, that slacker. Someone get him on the phone and tell him to join in and say, hey. The question was, does liquid aeration work, or are they all just snake oil? You answered it very well in your last video. Well, thank you, Scopophobia. Yeah, that's just it. And really, I mean, the whole reason I'm doing this is to be able to prove it right or wrong. Now, I know a lot of people that have been using aerate for a long time, so this isn't fair. And as a professional lawn care guy, I've used a lot of liquid aeration products. They've all been surfactant or polymer based. I know how those work. So I like the science, and I'm a sucker for a cool story, and John's product has a cool story. So I'm excited, super excited. Poaching 0521. Hey, man, I appreciate it. The bringing zoysia grass back to life. Okay, those nematodes were, oh my goodness, I cannot remember. I keep wanting to say sting. I don't know. I don't. There was maybe 2 different ones. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I went. I don't know. I do not know. I know the extension agent came out. They did the test, and they were super excited. And he said there was like two different varieties he found in 2 different areas, and that's why the turf was kind of responding 2 different ways. And they seem to have been corrected. I don't know how all that is going to play out. This is my first time ever dealing with nematodes, so I'm way out of my comfort zone with it. But I'll keep you posted on it, that's for sure. It's just really interesting because no matter how much fertilizer applied, the zoysia just would not grow in that area. It just sat there real low lying, barely changed color. It was just stunning. Super, super, super stunning. I bought my barricade yesterday, and I'll get it down tomorrow before the rain. Thanks. Yep, scopophobia, it's go time. 48 degrees for cool season grasses. What's your opinion on optimum temps for Bermuda planting? Soil temperature should be in the 60s. And you need to be on a warming trend. You want to be in the 80s during the day and no less than 60 degrees at night. So optimum temps, I would say when you begin to see goosegrass germinating, you're not going to see goosegrass really mature until July, after July. So goosegrass typically is going to germinate after crabgrass. After your crabgrass germinates is when you need to plan on seeding your Bermuda grass. There you go. Thanks a lot. Other channels, websites you recommend? Back to Nature. For, you know, there's lawnsite.com. I will warn you, that place is rough. It's tough. There's a lot of super knowledgeable guys on there, but it is tough. The lawnforum.com is homeowners, but there's really, really advanced science that gets talked about in the lawnforum.com. It's extremely advanced. I mean, there's for a homeowner-centered lawn forum, those guys are next level, and they're as or more knowledgeable than I would say 99% of the people in our industry. And I mean, those guys put me to shame. So the lawnforum.com is a great one just for general learning stuff. And there's a Facebook group, the Professional Lawn Care Applicators group. I can't recommend highly enough. Since you have a palm and tree business as well, I would also recommend one of the cross groups, which would be something along the lines of like a Lawn Digest. It tends to be more of a mentoring type group. So I hope those help out. Green County's Green Punch, what do you think? Would you mix it a rate of 15 ounces of product to 2 gallons? Thomas Jones, I honestly don't know what Green Punch is. So I have no idea. Would I mix it at a rate of 15 ounces of product to 2 gallons? Assuming, are you covering like a gallon per 1,000 square feet or 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet? But I mean, I'd do that. Yeah, with no reservations. I'd totally spray 15 ounces, or 7.5 ounces per 1,000. I mean, I'm not worried about that. 65 trending up. Ken Surratt is right. That is it. pH 8.0, is that going to make or break you? That will break you, Heather, not in terms of killing the grass, but it will inhibit your color. So what I would do is begin using ammonium sulfate as your sulfur source, and also applying elemental sulfur to your lawn. You have the ability to mechanically aerate and then apply your elemental sulfur. You're applying it at the root zone or deeper where the grass roots are currently growing. So this is one of those instances where a mechanical aerator is a good thing. Plug it, get down your elemental sulfur. Realize this, it is much harder to drop the pH than it is to raise the pH. So it will require a significant amount of time, but any effort you make towards dropping that pH, you're going to see color increase dramatically. One, turfgrass loves sulfur. Two, your turfgrass is not utilizing any iron at a pH of 8. So as it begins to drop, there will be a large uptake of iron, and that grass will be super green. It'll look awesome. That's right. The Lawn Care Nut and GCI Turf Services are both great YouTube channels. They're super good. My lawn supplier switched from Milwaukee poop, Milorganite, to Chicago poop. I'm guessing it contains extra bratwurst. That's a good joke, Mr. Scopophobia. Yeah, I got nothing on that. Absolutely. That is farther north than I have the ability to be able to joke about. I apologize. I'm in Oklahoma, so I may see that before you guys. Thanks for your help. Anthony, where you at in Oklahoma? So typically, like when I was in Memphis, we would seed at the earliest mid-May. When I was in Augusta, Georgia, we would seed around mid-May as well. I think we could have done it a little earlier. But Augusta was really hot. I mean, it was super hot in Augusta. The one thing, Anthony, is you can get it out early, but Bermuda is a slow germinator to begin with, and it goes through a very intense sprout and pout. So getting it out earlier, you know, I mean, whenever you got to get it out, whenever you got to get it out. But typically you want your soil temperatures to be 60, 65, and typically that's going to be May timeframe. Why do I not use liquid fertilizers? Because I do not like to pull a hose. It's as simple as that. Anthony, watch the mesonet soil temps. I live in Texas. I have St. Augustine grass. I'm going organic. What's the best fertilizer to use on my grass to spread and stand out? Kevin, what? Well, there's all kinds you can use. Where are you at in Texas? What's your soil structure like? I mean, I can think of a dozen different things there, and you know, I wonder what kind of organic are you going to go? What kind of organic do you want to use? Are you wanting to use like a compost and top dress the yard? Are you wanting to spread it through a spreader? I mean, which way you want to go about it? I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So I can't really just recommend one organic fertilizer that's going to be the best. They all can be great products. And I mean, really, even a simple 1010 can be a great product if that's what's needed. So unfortunately, Kevin, I need a little bit more information from you to be able to accurately answer that. Let's see here. My pH is at a 7.6. I spray chelated iron, as getting the pH down is tough. That's right. Yep, chelated iron is a good choice. Appreciate your reply. I have a similar problem with Zorgia diagnosis with Lance nematode. Stunned and not. Maybe that was it. I keep calling it a stinger. It may have been a Lance. It may have been. And Poaching, I'll have to send you a picture of that. It looked goofy over winter. It just wasn't great. Was not great. But it is recovering. It's definitely nowhere near as bad as it was last year. So there'll be a video of that. In fact, I just had to spray it with Monument to clear all the POA annua out of it. Heather and Trey, if you're looking for a chelated iron source, there are bunches of them to use. What you have to dial in on is which chelation method do you want to use. There's 3, 4, 5 different chelated methods. EDTA is typically the cheapest, most regularly available. Then you can use things like iron citrate or iron sucrate. There's iron glucoheptanate. There is HPTA, HPTA, and then another one. So there's lots of different ways to go. What I would go for is I would go for price. Go for price. Get your cheapest iron because they're all pretty much going to do about the same thing. How did you ever make out with that downscratch problem you were having? I got rid of, I would say, 95% of it. You know, I took an interesting approach. I did monument, tribute, and that seems to have worked. So I was very happy with that. For the most part, it is all gone. That POA treatment, in fact, Andy, I went and looked at it the other day. The POA is beginning to turn yellow pretty good. I am due up for my second application this week. So I will be doing my next application of the ethofumicate this week. And looks promising. Definitely looks promising, especially after 2 applications. I think that's it's gonna work really well. All right, y'all, we are at 7:57, 57 minutes in, 55 minutes in. I'm going to have to call it for the day. It's time to put the children to bed. I hear them yelling for me. All right, everyone, I appreciate you tuning in. While I've got you, a little house cleaning. I'm going to continue to be cranking out videos here. I'm in the most exciting part of my season, so I want to get that out as much as possible. Yes, the Etho versus plus the mesotrione. It was working well on the annua. It is not working well on the trivialis. In fact, the trivialis looks like it hasn't even been sprayed except for a couple of white tips. That's about it. Does liquid dimension have a shelf life? I had some set up in the bottle over the winter. It will have a shelf life. I don't know what that shelf life is. Typically, if you can keep it from freezing, though, it will do okay. Get a GoPro and do more live videos. I've got a GoPro, but unfortunately, GoPro does not do live videos. I have to do that from my phone. But I can get some more action shots. Got the camera, got a new tripod too, so I'm going to be doing that. All right, y'all. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button. That's what allows me to know to keep going with what I'm doing. Also, check out my friend's channel, Connor Ward, John Ware. We've got John Perry at Lawncology. Everyone take a second and subscribe to John Perry at Lawncology. He's sharing some really, really heavy topic of conversations that should make everyone think about what they do out there in the lawn as they're doing it. So serious, serious stuff. Real quick, I'll answer this, then I have to go. Thomas Glandon. Or Giandon, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. MSMA is not permitted for residential because the active ingredient in MSMA is monosodium methanearsenate. It is a derivative of arsenic. It is a non-organic arsenic, and so it is not the harmful arsenic that would typically harm your eye, but it does have the potential, once applied in the soil, to move and possibly convert into an organic arsenic, which could then harm us. If used at label rates, typically it does not have that risk, and the potential is very low. However, because that risk does occur, they went ahead and pulled it off the market because they can. And no one in the lawn care community stood up to anybody that was fighting to pull MSMA off the market. And that is a sad state of affairs for all the lawn care professionals that are still watching. You may not care about politics, but politics care about you, and we have to do the things to preserve our industry, whether we want to or not, because I love this industry so, so much. All right, y'all, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great, wonderful, lovely evening. Have a good one. Take it easy.